Turkish defense company Baykar is about to reach new heights with its drones. After gaining success on multiple battlefields, Turkiye's top defense exporter announced it has started construction on a UAV factory near Kiev, where it will manufacture either its famed TB2 or TB3 drone models. The company's chief executive says nothing could stop them, as they plan to finish construction in about a year and employ around 500 people. Since Russia launched its attack on Ukraine in 2022, both countries have targeted each other's defense factories as part of a war that has left tens of thousands dead. Turkey is one of the leading countries working to ensure a permanent ceasefire between Moscow and Kiev, having helped broker a UN deal to allow grain exports via the Black Sea. But Ankara has also continued to maintain close energy and defense ties with both countries. The deal to build the joint UAV production factory in Ukraine was signed before the war, and Baykar has maintained steady exports of drones throughout the conflict. And now to discuss the potential effect of the Turkish drone factory in Ukraine, joining me now from London is Manas Çavla. He is the CEO of London Politica. And from Doha, Ömer Aşur. He is a professor at the Doha Institute of Graduate Studies. A warm welcome to you both. And thanks for joining me on the program. So, Manas, what impact do you think this drone factory will have on the ongoing conflict and the stability in the region?
Well, I think this drone factory is a major step in Ukrainian-Turkish defense relations and overall political cooperation, although I don't think it'll have a significant impact as to the ongoing war in Ukraine and Russia right now, simply because we're very much in the initial stages of this agreement, and all the data that I've seen suggests that this factory will take at least 2 years before drones get into production in early 2025. The war could change significantly by then. And so this won't make an impact to the current war, although it'll set the stages for more defense cooperation in the future between these two countries.
So what kind of ramifications will the establishment of this drone factory have on ties between Ankara and Moscow?
Probably the Russian government won't like it, but it still has very strong relations, whether political, economic, even security, with Turkey. So it will have to balance it. Turkey has been taking a very balanced approach. In a way, it did not recognize the occupation of territories or undermining Ukrainian territorial integrity and sovereignty, but on the other end, it's keeping also some relations with Russia because of the political, economic, and even security ties in the Middle East and elsewhere. But also, as my colleague just said, it will increase the Ukrainian defense capacities for sure, but it's not going to cause a major shift in the war. Drones in general have been doing so, but not as artillery is doing. For example, artillery is still the cause of 70% of the casualties on both sides, and drones come far less in terms of the lethality.
True. So, Manas, Russian President Putin recently postponed his trip to Turkey, although there has been no official reaction from Moscow administration on the drone factory in Ukraine. But do you think there might be a little connection here?
Honestly, I don't think so. Once again, these talks have been happening for the better part of 5 years now. So the Russian administration is very clear about this taking place. It's unlikely that a mere announcement would make such a big difference and postpone a presidential visit, especially when Turkey plays such an important and strategic role. The two leaders were going to discuss things like the gas hub in Western Turkey, the war in Ukraine, but also Turkey's role in Black Sea grain exports during their meeting. And it's likely that the real reason for this meeting being postponed has to do more with the presidential elections coming up in Russia in now less than a month's time. I think there are very good signs that this meeting will take place again in the spring around the April-May.
So, Ömer, how did this partnership between Turkey and Ukraine become possible? I mean, what were the driving reasons behind this close cooperation?
I think on one end, this cooperation has had to do even from before the war. There has been cooperation on the defense level, on the industrial, on the security industries in general, and also part of the at one point part of the Bayraktar was manufactured parts of it in Ukraine. So that's just an upgrade of the level of the cooperation on one end. On the other end, it's a necessity. Ukraine used many types of drones for intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, command and control, communications, but also as combat. And specifically, they upgraded they used very significantly and very innovatively the FPV drones, the first person's view drones, as an attack tool. But then they are outnumbered in terms of the production. Russia now, by some estimates, produces 3 times what Ukraine does in terms of just that category, the FPV drones. And also, allegedly, because of the assistance from other countries, it also outproduces them in other types of drones.
Yes.
So Ukraine, in this sense, will need assistance, and I think this is the part of that security defense necessity that we see this development happening.
So, Manas, how has Ukraine's inability to acquire Western-made ammunition or equipment from the West for years and Western sanctions imposed on Turkey due to its anti-terror operations and its purchase of Russian-made S-400s resulted in this partnership?
Well, I think, as you point out, these two sort of, causes of action on both sides kind of lead to the same result, which is both countries, Turkey and Ukraine, want to broaden their defense alignments, want to broaden their sort of geostrategic positioning. And part of that is to diversify where their arms and drones come from. These are based on very natural needs. Ukraine needs drones, particularly effective and cheap drones, which Turkey is much better at producing than similar sort of Western-made alternatives. But there's also broader term recognition about rebuilding Ukraine's sort of national capacity and boosting its defense ties with other countries after the war with Russia ends. And this will play a sort of long part in kind of boosting Ukraine's domestic arms industry.
So, Ömer, what message is Turkey trying to sell through private companies like Baykar and these joint production facilities?
That we're independent. The decision is independent. 2 is that international law has to be respected. When you sign a treaty to respect the territorial integrity of the country, like what happened in Budapest in 1994, and then after signing the security assurance for the respect of the territorial integrity and the sovereignty of that country, you attack it and try to annex parts of it. So far, 5 provinces were annexed, although only 1 is totally controlled, which is Crimea. The rest are not militarily controlled, so they're politically and officially annexed, but they're not under the military control of Russia. Then I think the message is that you can't do that. You can't do that, and we will side with the side that is the victim of such aggression, even though if we have ties with the aggressors because of the political, the economic, and the other security interests. I think it's a very strong message to be that is delivered by Turkey.
So you said more is at stake for Russia than this factory when it comes to its relations with Turkey. So could this factory become a legitimate target for Russian forces? Are there any risks?
The risks as to position this factory, frankly, next to a war zone. Those are where the biggest security risks come from. I mean, the CEO said very clearly that won't stop this factory from going ahead. That'll be going with full speed ahead. But there's a Ukrainian plane engine manufacturer called Motor Sich, which was a company working with Baykar, which came under attack by Russia recently. And so that's certainly a concern that I'm sure is front of mind for Baykar going into this.
All right, gentlemen. Unfortunately, we are out of time. Thank you very much for joining me on Straight Talk.